Welcome to the Been There, Lost Fat podcast, real education and advice from people who get it. We've been there, lost fat, and successfully helped many others in doing so. I'm Sarah Fujinari, an integrative health practitioner, certified nutrition coach, and head coach at Team Fit With Me, here with my partner in business and life, Mark Fujinari. What's up, Mark? Today, we also have a really special guest. Michele is one of my nearest and dearest friends, and she has an incredible gift that has helped me immensely through a very hard time in my life, which refer to the previous podcast for more info. And I wanted to share a little bit about what she does with you all. Hey, Michele, how you doing, girl?
Hey, Sarah. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm, you know what? I feel like I'm knocking the rust off of this whole podcasting thing. So
Right.
hopefully it doesn't look like I've taken this much time.
Thanks for having
Michele,
me.
tell us. Thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about like where you are, what your history is. If you could tell us a little bit about your personal journey and kind of what led you to becoming a life coach and talking a little bit about that. Let's jump right back in.
All right. Let's see. So I have been a person that's always been interested in personal growth and, coaching and therapy and spiritual work, all of that wrapped into one. I've been interested in that pretty much the good portion of my life. About 30 years ago, I was given a second lease on life. And I always think to myself, I was brought back here for a reason. So I almost died, but I didn't. And so I've been spending time ever since then trying to figure out what my purpose is here on this planet. And I always love helping people. And I've gone through a lot of long-term relationships in my life. And I've, had my share of childhood woes and challenges. And so it's all given me a lot of really interesting, rich things to work on myself. And every relationship that I've been through has caused me to go inward every single time to see, okay, what could I have done better? What did I do, to either promote the ending of that relationship or contribute to any negativity that was in it in whatever way. So I've always done work on myself after every relationship I've been in. A couple of those have been marriages. And, I never consider anything to be a failed relationship because I always feel like I've learned something about me and it's something about what I'm about and what I'm looking for, no matter what the issue was or what, made us go our separate ways. So I've gone through several years of coaching and therapists, too many to name. And, I always love the workshops, the books that I read, it's always just been very interesting to me. So I love sharing what I learned and all the tools that I've got in my toolbox that have helped me get through things and just get through life and help shed all of that armor that I've always had around me for so many years. To really figure out who I am and what I have to offer the world.
I love that. And I feel like there's no way that we can do this podcast without kind of talking about all the shit that we've done together and all the ways that you helped me. And we just recorded a quick one the other day just to kind of bring everybody up to date. Where has Sarah been? I don't put my face on a milk carton type of thing. But in going through such a hard time, so to give everybody a little background, Michele and I have been friends for 6 years. Is that how long we've all known each other?
Yeah.
6 years.
How long have you guys been together?
And we know each other through just other relationships with friends. Michelle's in California. We're in Arizona for anybody who doesn't know. And it's Mark's fault that we're all friends, really. Mark somehow ends up being the glue to everybody, but because
Right?
Mark's the nicest guy ever.
That is.
But I didn't know a whole lot about this kind of work that you do and all of your knowledge here. And I don't know if it wasn't, maybe because it wasn't relevant, but maybe also because I just wasn't interested and I wasn't open to that kind of thing. Or I just wasn't in that place. But what I love is that you never pushed me. You've never been the person to be like, I know all these things. You need to know them too.
No,
You've always been, yeah, that's so nice. And I will say that, Michelle, you are like the most patient person of all fucking time. Um, Always. And I always say, it's so funny. I've said to Michelle a couple of times that like she reminds me of my mom. And at first I was like, it's because you're like a mother. Like we thought it was like a mother figure thing. And I was like, no, it's because you're like really patient and you're really kind. And you never gave me a feeling like you've never made me feel judged. And I think that a lot of clients on the other, like, the other side of the coin with me feel that way a lot of the time. But as we know, I'm super fucking hard on myself. And what I love about Michelle is that she never put anything upon me. And she also has never, what did I say to you last week or something? Like, no matter what I say to you, you never make me feel silly about it.
You
And
said
that's
you
one of my
didn't,
very,
you never felt weird about sharing your feelings.
yeah. And I think that everybody in our group of friends feels that way. Mark. Mark's just like,
Mhm.
but we've all, like, especially through what I just went through, we all, especially back in the beginning of the year, we were leaning on you like hardcore. And so thank you again for that, because we wouldn't all be sitting here if it wasn't for you. But then I guess it turned into, I was like, Michelle, like, this is amazing shit, and I need my people to know about this. Like the fact that
I was like,
you
what?
guided me this season, and like, and I have a psychiatrist. I don't have a therapist for a plethora of reasons. And I'm not saying that when Michelle does this therapy, and I don't ever want to confuse what everybody does. But I do want to make it really clear that Michelle has helped me more than any mental health professional has. And not that people don't need mental health professionals, but you've given me a lot of tools. And that was a lot of what I love too, is that you didn't tell me what to do. It reminded me of like yoga class when they say, I'm going to offer a suggestion and you do what's right for you. And that's how I feel a lot of your methodology is. Would you agree?
Absolutely. In fact, one of my favorite things that I've said for many years is that coaching is kind of like yoga for the mind. It's like bending your thoughts and changing the way that your brain works and changing the way your thoughts are showing up. And it's just a matter of, learning to do life differently.
And always like, you always are like, it's okay. Like, this is supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
And I'm
Everything's,
like, no, it's not. I need to control everything. So can you tell us what life coaching is? Because I had no idea until we started diving in together.
Yeah. So again, I mean, I kind of just approach it from a standpoint of understanding your thought patterns, understanding your limiting beliefs, understanding where all of them come from, because we all come from a base of our, nature and nurture, right? Whatever our upbringing is, whatever our personality is, we all have ways of being who we are, and sometimes that controlling piece that you have, is good to a certain extent, and then it can hinder you, right? So part of coaching is mostly about personal growth work. It's about being the best version of yourself that you can be, and getting out of your own way and making sure that you're not
What?
being
Fuck you. Respectfully, fuck you.
that's how you reacted first to everything, is it?
It is true. When anybody ever puts pressure on me, I'm literally, I'm not like, okay, fuck you. I usually am like, fuck you.
So here's the
But
funny
you know what's so
story.
cool? Go.
The funny story is, like, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago when I started with my first life coach, right? I would go to these groups on a weekly basis, but I grew up in Philadelphia, so I was kind of a harsh kind of girl back then. And I was the girl that sat in the corner with their arms crossed. And, the coach for a long time called me the fuck you girl. Now, I know I did what the year, they're like, you're being the fuck you girl.
I'm definitely the fuck you girl. I think that's actually one of the things that I'm known for, is my profanity.
Yeah.
I once had somebody that I coached, and she found she was referral, like everybody is, and she followed me on the internet and all of that stuff. And in one of my, let's see, it was over the holidays. And over the holidays, I put in my check-in form, like, decide what your level of fuckery is going to be this week. Do you like care a whole lot, you want to make a lot of progress, or do you give no fucks this week? And this woman was like, I think that your profanity is like so offensive, so unprofessional, all of this stuff. And I'm just sitting there, and that's fine. She can have her opinion, but I'm sitting there thinking like, did you even like look into this before you paid me a bunch of money? Or because like
Right.
anybody that has a 5-minute conversation with me knows that I'm
Yeah.
probably going to say fuck.
Right. It happens. We use it like a comma sometimes, you know?
Yeah, Mark throws fuck. Mark's dad. What does your dad always say?
What's he always say?
Your dad always like comments on our profanity. He's always like, "You guys are like perfect for each other."
Well, I was watching Goodfellas when I was like 12 years old, so
Yeah, everything.
That's too funny.
Do you have any questions? No questions?
yeah,
Not
Okay.
yet.
I will.
Going. So, who is like the perfect candidate for? Is there like a certain time in your life that you should be looking into life coaching? Is there a certain type of person that's like a better candidate?
I think the perfect candidate is just somebody that's saying, okay, you know, what can I do to level up my life, or what can I do to stop having this repeating pattern? You know, people that have negative repeating patterns in life, it's happening because there's something they're supposed to learn, right? Or there's something that their own actions or thoughts are creating this thing to keep happening. And so there's lots of ways to go about, you know, teasing out how those thoughts are coming about, or, you know, what those beliefs are, or actions are that's creating that pattern. So, you know, anybody that wants to create better patterns in their life, you know, and wondering, anyone who's ready to get out of victimville is a big one.
I like
Are
that.
you ready to get out of victimville? Right? Because if you just want to be the victim in everything, you're not ready for personal growth work. That's kind of where the shift needs to happen. That little aha moment needs to come into the mind where someone says, oh, you know, you can't always be the victim. I'm sure there's times where that's applicable, but people have to be able to say, okay, what am I doing to help create this scenario? People have to be ready to go inward and look at themselves and say, you know, what am I doing? So, and it's not everything that's happening to you, you know, most people say it's happening for you, but I also like to say it's happening because of you. So people have to what?
So no shit. I feel like I'm having a life coaching session right now.
So, I mean, and there's so many layers of it, you know, like there's so many, that's why there's no real destination when it comes to this type of work. You're never really done, because once you get the bug and you see what it's all about and you feel what it's all about and you start feeling like a better version of yourself, it gets very addictive to keep going and going and going. And then you're just, you know, peeling back more layers of the onion to,
I think
live
that's
your best life.
Yeah, that loops over into the, you know, health and fitness space. This is health, fitness, and wellness. These are these are all the thing. And I've been describing it recently as like, you know, you have these puzzle pieces and they're all equally important for the puzzle to work. And for you to see that picture, those puzzle pieces all need to fit together.
Yeah.
But also sometimes one puzzle piece needs a little bit more attention, and it doesn't mean that you just let the other ones disconnect and go away. But it's all like, for me, I've been finding that, you know, I've ignored this puzzle piece that you and I have been working on for 30 years. And so now this puzzle piece needs a whole lot of love. But it's not that I'm taking it pisses me off that I can't pay as much attention to the other puzzle pieces, because those are conceptually more important to me. But in order for me to get back to these original puzzle pieces and to work on my master plan, there's no way that I can ignore this puzzle piece anymore. It's just not an option. And that's presented in panic attacks.
Yeah, because then you hit that ceiling, right? Or you've up leveled as much as you can without working on that puzzle piece.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the next thing to break through.
You talk about Finn? We talk about your anxiety stuff?
Oh,
I'm sorry. If for anybody who couldn't hear that, I was asking Mark if he was comfortable talking about his mental health stuff. Do you want to or no? You don't have to.
well, exactly what I would say right now.
All right. Well, then we can talk about how, I mean, Michelle's helped you deal with me, quite frankly.
You know,
when
and
things were-
sometimes, you know, a coach is just that, just somebody that who listens, you know, and allows the other person to speak their mind, whatever it looks like, right? There's no right way or wrong way for, you know, somebody to be there for someone. And, you know, if it's sometimes it's just a matter of listening and saying,
it's
I
so
get
funny.
it, you know, people want to be understood, people want to be gotten. And until
That's
you
true.
let them, you know, fully explain what they're going through and how they're feeling, like they're not going to feel like they're gotten, you know, so that's part of the, you know, the meat and potatoes of human connection, right? So, and that's another piece of this is like getting down to who you are at the core is also going to make you a better friend, you know, a better mom, better dad, better partner, whatever it is, right? It's going to make you come into all of your relationships as a better person, not just for yourself, but for everyone.
That's been proven very true in our marriage. And Mark and I have had a great marriage, but you know, we're still spring chickens at this marriage thing.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know what?
It's a 4-year.
Oh, and at least somebody keeps track of our anniversaries. I realized so Michelle encouraged me to start practicing yoga. I started practicing in the beginning of the year. I practiced years ago and felt in the beginning of my weight loss journey, I practiced yoga. And then I moved out of New Jersey. I never found a studio that I liked again. Michelle and I had talked about it and then saw each other a couple months later and we were talking about it again. And then the conversation led to, why are we talking about this a second time and you've done nothing about it, Sarah? So I jumped in with 2 feet because I've had with my panic attacks and things, it's been very hard for me to do strength training and be in the gym and all of that stuff. And so it's been my form of movement and a lot of my mental health stuff. It's helped me immensely. But I've realized that I breathe out a lot talking and I don't breathe in a whole lot and listen. And I think that that's a big part of me allowing you to help me has been me shutting the fuck up.
Yeah.
And me listening to like and me being open to, it's not that I've like never listened to no, I've never listened to what anybody said. I've listened like as a friendship, but I've never really taken anybody's advice because I've been too busy taking my own advice, which usually really serves me well, but it doesn't anymore. And I needed help, and asking for help is really hard. And a big part of that was asking for help from my husband. And you taught me that it's okay to lean into him. Where I've wanted to stand on my own feet and I wanted to be the champion and the person that, you know, does it all herself. And I think that was a big thing that I think you coached us both through it. Was us just learning to, you know, we've had our marriage has never had so much depth than it has now. And a huge part of that was you almost like mediating and moderating between us so that we were communicating effectively and we were being kind and all those things. And I found that helped us so much. And our relationship is like, it's never been bad, but it is amazing. Like, it's so cool to see how much stronger we've gotten with your help.
Yay. I love that. Yeah. I mean, so it's always about, you know, interacting properly, right? Especially if you're having a disagreement. It's about fighting fair. And, you know, if you're going to fight or have disagreements, you know, do it constructively, not destructively. Making sure that
we've never really fought until I was fixing my shit.
Yeah.
And then it caused like, you know, I think that a lot of stuff came up, but also like Mark is a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So like if I've ever tried to start fights in the past, like Mark would like not engage. Like he don't want anything to do with that. And
I'd be like, I'm just gonna go over here for a little bit. And then I'll be back in a few minutes.
Or you would just be like, well, you're just going to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
and for a long time that's been true, but it's gotten to the point that it's like it's not good for us, for me to just do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Yeah.
So as we had some of that, like, I guess I'll call it conflict, but Mark and I are like yell and scream at each other. That's not what we
No.
do. But we do kind of shut down against, like, I think that's, and I think Mark shuts down in the more.
Yeah, like when I get angry or frustrated, I get very quiet room and just kind of sit there, like kind of like put up a wall.
Well, you're the peacekeeper, and you're the peacekeeper with our friends too.
I've kind of always been that way.
Yeah. I get
Mhm.
that. I've been that person for a lot of my family members too. I get it.
Yeah. You guys are probably like, you guys are the glue in our friend group. You guys keep everybody chill. I'm over here just like running around being wild, saying fuck you to everybody. So I guess so for everybody that's tuning in, they're tuning in because they're interested in more nutrition knowledge and fitness and all of these things. So can you talk a little bit about, well, I had my puzzle piece analogy, but sometimes I feel like my analogies or what I'm regurgitating from what you've taught me is like playing telephone. And so I'd really like you to talk about how it's helped you on your personal journey, because Michelle's ass, guys. I mean, if you could just see it. But she's looking at me like, I can't believe you just said that. But in all seriousness, Michele is very fit, very healthy, very into all of that stuff. And I'd love for you to talk about your journey, and then also how your work kind of complements what I do and and overall healthy living.
Sure. I mean, you said it earlier, right? I mean, it's all going to start with the inside too. You know, you can't just work on the outside. You got to work on the inside, because there's so many things that drive our decisions, and whether we're making good decisions about health and fitness or bad decisions about health and fitness, all come from within our spirit, within our heart, within our mind. You know, so that's, when it comes to fitness, yoga has always been my favorite. It's me. I just feel the best when I go through it. And I lost my yoga practice for a few years, and I felt like crap, like I looked like shit. It was hard for me to keep weight off, even though even if I was going to the gym or doing something different. But so that's just my favorite. It's not like that's the best for everyone. But even going through yoga sculpt classes, the yoga with weights, I'm starting to do that to kind of level up a little more, but yoga also incorporates the peace of mind along with the exercise, and it promotes the breathing and what?
Yes, that's so hard. It's the hardest part. Yeah, yoga is not physically hard for me, but it is mentally very hard for me.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
I've done yoga, but I do kind of my own version of yoga when I do like my balancey stuff at the gym. It's not really yoga, but
you meditate when you're playing video games.
That's true.
Mark is looking like shut it down, totally zone out.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their own form of meditation, right? I mean, meditation is one of the best medicines. It truly is. I mean, I'll even be honest, like I don't do it as much as I need to or should or want to. Everybody's life gets in the way. But if anybody can get into meditation, I mean, nothing quiets the mind or makes better peaceful living than, a good meditation practice.
Where do you recommend people start? Like, so Michele and I have talked about this like ad nauseum, and I just refuse to try it.
So I mean,
I don't want to be alone with my thoughts.
Well, but it's not being alone with your thoughts, right? It's being alone and telling your thoughts to fuck off. Like you don't want to pay attention to our thoughts. I mean, that's the point of meditation. We want to quiet the mind. But it's something you got to start small, whether it be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is. Listen to some kind of meditation music. You can get anything you want on YouTube, whether it has a guided person teaching you or taking you through the breathing exercises, or if it's just music where you do it yourself, I would say just focus on your breath, deep inhales, deep exhales until you kind of get more relaxed. And you're going to have thoughts come in, right? I call this the monkey brain. You're going to have the thoughts come and go, but you don't have to pay attention to them. You don't have to, entertain the whole idea that everything's bringing to you, that your mind's bringing to you. You kind of just say, okay, I see you, go away. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Let it shoo it away and come back to your breathing. Now you can use a mantra if you'd like, where you're, saying one word on the inhale and another word on the exhale so that it gives you something to focus on. Again, your mind is still going to wander, but that's okay. It's all about recognizing when it does and coming back to center, coming back to present. Until you work up to 5, 10, 15, 20 minute, my favorite is half-hour meditation. Like sometimes it'll take me a good 10 minutes to even get into it, to where I can close down the mind and then I'm gone. I'm like off in the ether, and then the timer goes off and I'm like, oh my God, where was I? And it just kind of, if I'm able to do it in the morning, it kind of sets a tone for the day that you're a lot calmer. And, sometimes if I do it in the middle of the day or the end of the day, I've even fallen asleep, which is not the goal. Right? You're trying to stay awake, but if it happens, it happens. Obviously, you need some sleep, right? So that's important too for everything that we do, right? For all the repair. But there's also like a walking meditation, So I shared this with somebody the other day, where if you take your dog for a walk, or you can kind of walk down the sidewalk and you just kind of notice every little thing that you see. It's about staying present. Again, the thoughts are going to come in. You're going to have the monkey brain, but it's just don't engage, right? Don't let it take you off course and be like thinking about what you're going to have for dinner or what you're going to do tomorrow or what you did yesterday. Stay present. That's what keeps the mind from torturing you. So, yeah, starting small is.
Sarah was asking earlier about like my anxiety and stuff, and most of that does come at night. Like when I'm trying to sleep, my brain doesn't shut off.
Yeah.
It's just thoughts like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And I'm just laying in bed. And I've had days where, I used to work with this real jerk surgeon, and I would dread going in the next day to work with him because he was just such an asshole. And the night before, as I'm trying to sleep, and I'm like, I know that I have like a 12 to 18 hour day with this dude the next day. Like all these thoughts in my head about how awful the day was going to be the next day would prevent me from sleeping. And there's some days where I either couldn't fall asleep for several hours or, wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and I can't go back to sleep. And now I'm just sitting there at like 3 a.m. trying to go back to sleep, knowing I have to wake up at 4:30 anyway. And I have to go work with this jerk all day long. And that's where like those thoughts just like were pervasive and they wouldn't stop. And then I'd like end up just like sucking it up, go to work, but then I'm like all day I'm like tired, so that's where like most of my anxiety.
And it's like the vicious cycle. I have caused a lot of Mark's anxiety as well over the years, especially as of late.
Yeah. Understood. But yeah, even when that happens, you have earbuds, right? Pull up do you guys ever use the Calm app?
You know what? It's so funny. I've like done a trial of it years ago, but I haven't used it consistently, and I've gifted it to people before. I know. I'm taking your own advice, right? But we do have a Hatch alarm clock. Have you heard of those?
Oh, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah. So to anybody who doesn't know, it's here, Mark, you can explain it because you know more about it.
It's basically a sunrise alarm clock. So it simulates. It has light on it. But there's also like kind of meditative music and whatnot as you fall asleep. But let's say you set your alarm for like 5 a.m. At 4:30, it starts slowly, the sun slowly starts rising on the app. So your room's dark and the light starts getting brighter and brighter up until 5 a.m. So when I would set it for like 5 a.m., by 4:55, before the sound comes on, because the sound will play like some light music to wake you up at 5. But I would always naturally, I guess, you wake up 5 minutes before because your brain can feel the sun rising on the alarm. And so I wasn't being woken up by some loud, annoying sounds. It's subconsciously as I'm sleeping, my brain's like, oh, the sun's rising. And then you wake up like feeling way calmer than like, when you wake up. So
Mark
Yeah.
puts me to sleep. I've been going to sleep with the sound of like smooth jazz.
it's called midnight jazz.
And I actually like it, which is like not something I would ever listen to,
No,
but
but
it
that's
does help.
awesome. Does that help you fall asleep better, Mark?
Yeah. And I generally, because Sarah usually goes to bed a couple hours before I do, and then I stay up play video games. And then so I'm like, I will start it, while she goes to sleep, and then maybe 30 minutes before I go to sleep, I will turn on, like, it's like an hour cycle, or you can set it however you want to, but I have it set for like an hour of music. So a half hour before I go to bed, I'll reset the music. She's already sleeping. And then when I get in bed, the music's halfway through, and then it goes off by like 30 minutes. Hopefully, if the little ones aren't wrestling in the bed, then I can fall asleep pretty fast.
Nice. So when you're doing that, I mean, also you can just try to focus on your breathing, right? The inhale and the exhale.
I've done all that, like various things. I've tried a lot of it. I've had sleep issues for 25 years.
Yeah.
But recently, like in the past year, your sleep has definitely been better. I mean, up until like I went crazy for a little while there, but in general speaking, your sleep has been way better than when we first met. But you also don't have like on-call cases in the middle of the night.
Yeah, because I worked. I don't know if anyone knows, or some people know, but I've worked in surgery for 15 years up until recently, and so I had a lot of on-call. I used to do trauma stuff, so like you could be called in the middle of the night. Like I've had times where I went to bed at 11:30, and at midnight I get a call from the hospital, like someone got in a car accident. You have to come in right away. And then I get to the hospital and it's like 1 a.m, and then I have to work till like 9 a.m. because it was like some crazy trauma surgery. And then so like when I was on call, my anxiety was way worse.
Yeah, makes sense.
When in Colorado, I got called in a lot more often. So every time I was on call, every text message is like, look at your phone. Oh shit, do I have to go in? Like, and then, or you get that call at 10 o'clock at night and I'm like, fuck, I just worked 10-hour day and now I got to go work all through the night. And then it's like, so that caused a shit ton of anxiety because I just hate being called in when I'm on call.
Yeah.
So I think something what just popped into my head and what I see so often is I feel like we set the expectations on ourselves, and I'm sure it's societal and people wanting to give you pills and all that shit, that we're just not supposed to be anxious, that we're not supposed to be depressed, that we're not supposed to feel unmotivated. And I think that that's part of human nature. I mean, I think that there's a spectrum to this, but can you talk about how you feel about that?
Yeah. I mean, all of those emotions and feelings, they all have an actual purpose in life. So, and it's impossible in today's society to not go through them at some point or another. I think it all comes down to getting rid of the need to control everything and also giving yourself grace, right? Be nice to yourself sometimes. You know what you're going through, and it's okay. Know that it's okay to have that once in a while. If it's hindering your life in some way, then it's something that needs to be addressed. But otherwise, it's perfectly, I don't want to say normal, because what's normal, right? That has no meaning. But everybody goes through some level of that at some point in their life, and it's just a fact of life, So
yeah. I
think the best thing don't make yourself wrong for feeling it. It's okay. Be nice to yourself, give yourself grace to go through it and come out the other side.
Well, it's funny that you say that because both Mark and I get emotional when like he gets angry. I get angry or I get like really upset, and then I get like panicky and all of that stuff because I always want to suppress those feelings instead of just like letting them exist. And you and I have talked about that before too.
Yeah.
But Mark does that too. Like when he wakes up in the middle of the night, he can't go back to sleep because, especially if he has to do something the next day, it's like looming. I think we've all done this, right? That like something's looming over your head, you can't sleep, and then you're like, it makes it worse and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he gets like ragey, and I'm like, and Mark is like, you guys don't know Mark yet, but well, Michelle knows Mark. I know Mark. Listeners, you don't know Mark yet. But Mark is like the kindest, calmest, nicest guy you will ever meet in your whole life. And so when Mark gets ragey, I kind of am like, oh, it's so fun. It's like funny that he's like a little bit.
I'm an Italian, and
Yeah.
Detroit me.
Yeah, it
So,
happens.
Never directed at somebody. It's usually like
at yourself.
shouting into the air or something.
It totally makes things worse for both of us. We're just
Yeah.
it's more
No, and that's, I
enabling
mean,
yourself.
you gotta let it out sometimes. Like, if you try and push it down all the time, it's gonna come out in terrible ways. You gotta let it just be. Like,
Decent point.
feel it, let it out. It's okay. Move on.
We're working on
Yeah.
that. Work in progress. Work in
Yeah,
progress.
we all are, honey.
So another hot topic is motivation. And we see like all sorts of terrible advice about how to get, like, how do you get motivated? And I think, and my advice is always that, like, don't count on it. Because it's, and when it comes, it's going to go. So motivation isn't going to stick around for forever. So my advice is always, because, I'm very like math data type of girl, that I always go for, we need to have a plan. We need to be disciplined. We need to do all of those things. But I'm going to go ahead and take a wild guess that you probably have another spin on it. Yes, you did. Smiling and nodding at me.
So motivation at its core requires one thing: energy. It requires a lot of energy. So the more good choices you make about your sleep and about, the things that we put into our bodies and don't, and the more you start to see results, right, that all creates motivation. But if you can just manage your energy and don't let yourself get down in the dumps about things, right, because that totally depletes motivation altogether. If you're living, like I always say, there's a line of neutrality, right? Down here is where we all live in Victimville and negativity and this and that. Up here is where we stay positive, like try and see the sunshine in the day instead of the cloud. Try whatever you focus on grows, right? Thoughts become things. So if you can keep up your energy in a positive way, your motivation is going to be a byproduct of that.
You know what? It's funny. You've never explained it to me that way, but because I've never asked you that way.
Yeah.
But you've translated the same thing to me, where I feel like in a lot of ways I've taken my power back by acknowledging that things are choices, and also like kind of assessing, like, do I have to do this? Do I need to do this? Or am I choosing, like, or do I want to do this? And when it comes back to the energy conversation, if I have no energy, I need to stop doing the extra things. Just do what you have to do and then go rest. And Mark says to me all the time, if you're tired, go to sleep. And I'm like, what do you mean? I got all this shit to do. But that's how it was, or you may have said it to me that way, but that's how my mind framed it, is just taking my power back by making choices, and those choices start creating that momentum with that energy as well. And that's, and I'm still working on getting my groove back over here. But if we compare where I was a couple months ago, it's like crazy how far.
You're light years beyond, for sure.
I think that's the first time I've acknowledged that, actually.
Good job. Yes.
Acknowledging
your wins, right? Acknowledging your wins is big.
When I tell Sarah, if you're tired, go to sleep, it's just so she doesn't yell at me if I fall asleep.
I hate that. I'm like, just get in bed, get out of my house, so I don't have to walk on eggshells.
Right.
So can you? So we've started the ball rolling. Michelle's a part of the team. If anybody missed the announcement after her just exponentially changing my life and helping us both, like changing my life and our life as a couple, really in such a short period of time. And it wasn't on purpose. It was because we were in a state of emergency and Michelle came in, and then it was just like, everybody needs to know about this. I can't believe how much you helped me when I was like, from a lot of other people, like untreatable, unhelpable in a lot of ways. And so we decided to bring Michelle as our official life coach. It's, as we talked about, a perfect complement. to everything else that we're doing on the team. Can you talk a little bit, just like a little like outline rundown of kind of like what it looks like to sign up and to do? Everybody's always scared to, especially when we're like showing up on camera and like that kind of stuff. So can you just go through what it looks like?
Yeah, it's it's not as scary as it seems. I mean, we do every session on a Zoom call, and for all intents and purposes, we're really just sitting there and having a talk. I do have a little intake form that I kind of ask people to fill out just so that I kind of know where they're coming from and what they're trying to work on. But it's not like I'm sitting there and saying, okay, what's wrong with you that I need to fix? There's nothing wrong with anyone. It's, it's how can I help you make your life better? What are you most present to right in this moment? What is keeping you up at night? Things that people just want to say, I've got this thing. This thing that's bugging me so much, like that I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to deal with it. Like that's really kind of where I would come in and just be like, okay, let's talk about this. Let's see what this thing is and where it's coming from. And
does it have to be on a certain subject matter, or like is there like a or like it's just whatever you're going through right now?
Yeah, I mean, it can be relationship based, whether it's your primary relationship or a friendship with someone or somebody in your family or just with yourself. Like the core things that everybody deals with in life, can be applied to any relationship. It's just
couples too. Aside
Sure.
from me and Mark, do you talk to couples? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if that's appropriate for the two of you, I mean, it just has to be, both people just have to be willing to talk about, to be vulnerable, right? You have to be willing to kind of share your things and, just be a little bit coachable. It's not, it's
well, you know what? It's good for hard conversations.
Yeah.
Because you're also like a pretty good interpreter of like what somebody's trying to say. And so that, I think that's helped us with like our communication on both ways, like to understand each other better.
Yeah. I mean, it's great when I can work with a couple and, they're really trying to communicate something to each other, but they're tripping over their words. And, and it's not coming across in the way that they would mean for things to come across, so that's kind of where I come in and say, okay, here's what I'm hearing, and tell me if I'm wrong. And, or here's where this person's coming from. It really is a little bit just like being a camp counselor sometimes, just to kind of let people.
Also, like, I thought about how you've kind of like helped me to change the way that I say things to myself, but also say things to other people. And that like, and it's because you were, well, Michelle's like the best listener in the whole wide world. And she also gets what you're trying to say. And then she'll suggest like, I don't even know how you do it, because you don't do it in like a way that it feels like you're doing anything. Yeah. It just happens. And it might be because that's the way that you talk to me also, that I've picked up on, like, that, but sometimes we'll be talking and I'll say something but, and then I'll be like, wait, no, I'm not saying but, I'm saying something, period. Or she goes something and, instead of like minimizing the things that I'm saying. But little things like that and the way that you talk to yourself and other people make a huge fucking difference.
Yeah, words matter, right? I mean, words cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. And it's a matter of just tweaking the language just a bit. And, it lands differently when you tweak it. It feels differently to yourself, self-talk is huge, especially for your clients that are going through these programs to, get into the health and fitness world entirely, like they probably want to focus more on their faults or their flaws or what they're not getting, but focusing on your wins, focusing on what you're achieving, focusing on the little things that you can pat yourself on the back for. I mean, that's what's going to get you through. That's the sweet stuff right there.
That's the energy. That's the motivation.
Energy. It will
build
you up. Yes.
That is the motivation. There's the secret sauce, folks.
For sure.
So I guess the answer is that your program is very much like my program, that nobody's program looks the same. That
Right.
everything is going to be individual to you. You can have as much or as little calls as you want to have. That it's just everything is very flexible and tailored, and it's what you bring to the table. But I would also imagine that it's what you put into it, you get out of it, just like my program.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, I mean, it's whatever anybody wants, and it can be once every other week, once a month, whatever anybody needs. Sometimes you could do it. You could have calls with me, once every other week or once a week, and then just for a few times. And then maybe you need more help later on down the road, whatever anybody needs. So,
That's so funny. I feel like people don't acknowledge that with coaching. Like I was with my coach for like 4 years, and I know people think that's crazy, but I'm glad I did it because I'm good.
Yeah.
It worked. Go figure.
It does.
I think I worked with him for like 3 years, and then I like left for like 6 months, and I came back. Like, and if I ever need help again, like I will totally hire him back.
Yeah.
I have like no game in that game. Coaches need coaches. I fully believe in that. But I have lots of clients that will come back, whether pick up where they left off, or maybe they like need some more accountability and to tighten it up. And there's no shame in that game. Like we all need help. And sometimes we need more help than others. But nobody's ever come back and I've been like, what did you do? No, it's like, that's part of it. Like as humans, and you have to be like in that frame of mind, like you said, that you're like open to change and that you're ready to do things, or otherwise it's not worth anybody's time. So you got to be ready to make that first step, even if it's a baby step, just like you said.
For sure. Everything takes baby steps. Even if you go 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Amen to that, sister.
I'm married to a coach, and it took me a long time to even start taking coaching advice. Like she'd be like, him and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I don't like doing legs. And all of a sudden, like now she puts me on a program with my mother-in-law, Renee. And now that my workouts have completely changed and my body's completely changed, but it took me several years till I even like accepted the like, hey, let someone else write my workout plan. But it's all the same vein. Like coaching.
And then like 3 months in, our friends were coming over like, Mark, you're looking jacked.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's almost like we know what we're doing over here.
Imagine
all right,
that.
so let's close it out. So throw us one like tip or like some words of wisdom to wrap it up that's going to make us all feel really good about this podcast. No pressure.
No pressure.
Why do I feel like she probably are? Oh, this is my favorite quote.
All right. How about this has been one of my favorites lately. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can either grow flowers or weeds. The choice is yours.
That's true. I like it. And now our favorite question, which by the way, Mark just jumped on. Mark started co-hosting with our last pod. And I forgot to ask him our favorite question. So I'm going to ask him first, and then it'll be your turn.
Okay.
And this is a question we ask our guest. If one food for the rest of your life could be completely calorie-free, what would you choose? Mr. Fooch?
Probably a Coney dog from Detroit.
I believe that.
I used to eat one Coney dog for every day that I would go to Detroit to visit. So,
oh my gosh, it's true. It's true. You know what? Mark is like a contest eater. It's incredible that he is.
Oh, wow.
He just Michelle, if one food could be calorie free for the rest of your life,
mine would have to be pizza, but New York style pizza, not that Chicago shit.
Anything on it?
All the meat possible, lots of cheese. Don't even put veggies on my pizza.
So Mark likes pepperoni. We haven't talked about Mark's favorite pizza. I am the opposite of you guys. I want like thin, crunchy crust, I want like every vegetable is on the menu. Mark is like, did you just build a $40 personal pizza? Why, yes, I did, Mr. Fooch. I built it and I'm going to
I
eat.
saw that pizza and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it's like a salad on a cracker. Like, that's not pizza.
I love it. And when I ever tell a client about like how I'm like, cause I'll be like giving tips about like how to have pizza and like how to, make a balanced meal. And I'll say, I always get all the veggies on the pizza, but it's not like a health thing. It's just because I really like the veggies on the pizza. And I like a little like fresh ricotta cheese. I'll like skip the regular cheese and do the ricotta cheese on it. But yeah, it's got to be like, I have to be like betraying my New Jersey nation.
I leave a hand from the pepperoni. That's no matter with that.
It's always my favorite question. All right, guys. Well, that flew by. How about that?
That did, huh?
Yeah,
That was
you're
fun.
hanging with when time flies.
I know.
Michelle, thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely.
This was fun. I'm sure we're gonna have you back.
Yeah, please do. I'd love to do it.
Let's do
Okay.
you know what I forgot? I forgot to announce that you are now offering free consults. So if anybody wants to book a free consult to chat with Michelle and learn more about programs and just make sure that you guys are vibing, you can reach out to me on social media or you can email me. You can also reach Michelle at Michelle with 1L w@teamfitwithme.com. If you guys need any contact information or you want to shoot her a message or whatever, just reach out to me and we can get you hooked up for a call. All right. Thank you for listening to the Been There Lost Fat podcast. Our motto here is do it right, so you only have to do it once. If you're looking for personalized and customized programming to reach and sustain your health and fitness goals, check us out at teamfitwithme.com. Complete the info on the contact page, and then I will reach out to you for your complimentary consult. Thanks, guys.